Hello, everyone, and a massive welcome back, or perhaps a very warm, hello, nice to meet you. If this is your very first time tuning in to Podcast English Story, I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me today on this exciting journey into the wonderful world of the English language. Now, let's be honest for a moment. Learning English, especially when you're just starting out, can sometimes feel like standing at the foot of a very, very tall mountain. You look up at the peak, perhaps shrouded in a bit of mist, and you think, wow, that looks like a long climb. Where do I even begin? Maybe you've tried a few lessons here and there, perhaps wrestled with grammar rules that seem to have more exceptions than actual rules, or maybe even felt a little overwhelmed by the sheer volume of new words that seem to pop up everywhere. And that's perfectly okay. Those feelings of uncertainty, of perhaps even a little bit of frustration, are incredibly common. In fact, I think almost every single person who has ever embarked on the adventure of learning a new language, myself included, has felt that exact same way at some point. It's like trying to navigate a new city for the first time. Everything feels unfamiliar. The road signs look strange, and you might take a few wrong turns along the way. But here's the exciting part. The part that I truly believe makes learning English with Podcast English Story a little bit different, a little bit more enjoyable, and a whole lot more achievable. We're not here to just hand you a map filled with complicated jargon and endless lists of vocabulary. No, no, no. Here at Podcast English Story, we believe that the best way to conquer that mountain of English is step by step, with a friendly guide by your side, sharing stories, insights, and practical tips that actually make sense, and dare I say, even make you smile along the way. Think of me as your friendly companion on this linguistic adventure. We're not going to rush you. We're not going to throw you into the deep end of complex conversations right away. Instead, we're going to start with the fundamentals, the building blocks of English. But we're going to do it in a way that feels natural, engaging, and most importantly, relevant to your everyday life. Why Podcast English Story, you might ask? Well, the name itself holds the key to our approach. We believe that stories are the heart and soul of language. They're how we connect with each other, how we share experiences, and how we naturally absorb new information. Through engaging stories, relatable scenarios, and bite-sized lessons woven into the narrative, we aim to make learning English feel less like studying and more like, well, listening to a good story. In each episode, we'll be exploring different aspects of the English language, from essential vocabulary and everyday phrases to basic grammar concepts and pronunciation tips. But we won't just be reciting lists or drilling rules. Instead, we'll be diving into stories that illustrate these concepts in action, showing you how native speakers actually use English in real-life situations. For those of you who are just starting out on your English journey, perhaps you've just decided that now is the time to finally tackle this global language. Or maybe you've had some exposure in the past, but are looking for a fresh and more engaging approach. You are exactly where you need to be. We understand that the initial steps can feel the most daunting. Questions like, where do I even begin? What words should I learn first? Or how can I possibly understand those fast-talking native speakers might be swirling around in your head, and that's precisely what we're here to address. Over the course of our episodes, and especially in today's session, we're going to be laying down some fundamental principles, some key strategies that will serve as your compass and your roadmap as you begin your ascent up that English language mountain. We'll be talking about practical tips, that you can implement immediately simple yet powerful techniques that will help you build a solid foundation and start making progress from day one. We'll be demystifying some of the seemingly complex aspects of English, breaking them down into manageable chunks that are easy to understand and digest. We'll be focusing on building your confidence because we truly believe that a positive mindset and a belief in your ability to learn are just as important as any grammar rule or vocabulary list. So whether you're listening to this during your morning commute while you're taking a break from work, or perhaps winding down at the end of the day, I encourage you to relax, to open your mind, and to get ready to absorb some truly helpful and inspiring insights. Think of this as your friendly English language coffee break, a moment to learn something new, to feel a little bit more empowered, and to realize that learning English doesn't have to be a chore. It can actually be an exciting and rewarding adventure. Today, we're specifically going to be focusing on those crucial initial steps, those foundational principles that will set you up for success as you continue your English learning journey. We're going to be sharing some not-so-secret secrets, some tried and tested tips that will make learning English feel less like an uphill battle and more like a fascinating exploration. So are you ready to take that first confident step with me? Let's dive in and begin to unlock the door to the wonderful world of English together, right here on Podcast English Story. All right, everyone, welcome back. Now that we've set the stage and hopefully eased some of those initial learning jitters, it's time to delve into the heart of our episode today, the 10 essential tips that will help you truly break through the foundational stages of learning English. These aren't just your run-of-the-mill suggestions. These are actionable strategies that, when implemented consistently, can make a significant difference in your progress and your confidence. So grab your mental notepad, maybe even a real one if you prefer, and let's get started with our first breakthrough tip. Tip 1. Build a solid vocabulary foundation. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Vocabulary. That sounds like a lot of memorization. And while memorization does play a role, especially in the beginning, building a strong vocabulary foundation is much more than just rote learning. It's about strategically acquiring the words that will give you the most bang for your buck, the words that appear most frequently in everyday conversations and written materials. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't start by trying to put on the roof, would you? No, you'd begin with a solid foundation, the concrete slab, the basic framework. In English, that foundation is built with high-frequency vocabulary. These are words like hello, thank you, yes, no, water, food, go, come, have, be, and so on. These seemingly simple words are the workhorses of the English language, the ones you'll encounter and use constantly. So how do you go about building this solid vocabulary base? Well, one of the most effective methods is through spaced repetition systems. SRS often facilitated by tools like flashcards, both physical and digital. Apps like Anki and Memrise utilize this principle, presenting you with words at increasing intervals based on how well you remember them. This method is scientifically proven to be far more effective than simply trying to cram lists of words into your memory. Instead of just seeing a word and its definition, once SRS ensures that you revisit it at strategic times, reinforcing your understanding and making it more likely to stick in your long-term memory. Start with the most common word lists. You can easily find these online by searching for high-frequency English words for beginners. Focus on understanding the meaning and context, rather than just memorizing a single definition. Look at example sentences to see how the word is actually used. Another powerful technique is learning vocabulary in thematic chunks. Instead of randomly picking words, group them by topic. For example, you might spend a week focusing on vocabulary related to family, learning words like mother, father, sister, brother, parents, children, and so on. Or you might focus on food, learning words like apple, banana, bread, milk, eat, drink. This approach helps you see the connections between words and makes it easier to recall them when you're speaking or writing about a particular subject. Don't underestimate the power of visual aids. When learning a new word, try to associate it with an image or a real-life object. If you're learning the word table, picture a table in your mind. If you're learning happy, try to recall a time when you felt happy. This multisensory approach can significantly enhance memory retention. Finally, make it a habit to actively use the new vocabulary you learn. Don't just passively review flashcards. Try to incorporate new words into simple sentences when you're speaking to yourself or writing short notes. The more you actively engage with the new vocabulary, the more likely it is to become a permanent part of your working knowledge. Aim for a realistic number of new words to learn each day or week. Consistency is key here, even if it's just a few new words a day. Remember, building a strong vocabulary foundation is the first crucial step in your English language. Breakthrough, excellent. With a solid vocabulary base in progress, let's move on to our second breakthrough tip, one that often gets overlooked but is absolutely vital for clear and confident communication. Tip 2. Master standard pronunciation right from the start. Think about it. You might know a lot of words and even understand the grammar, but if your pronunciation is unclear, it can lead to misunderstandings and even frustration for both you and the person you're speaking with. Investing time in mastering the basics of English pronunciation right from the start is like ensuring the bricks in your vocabulary foundation are laid correctly and strongly. One of the best resources available to you today is the wealth of online pronunciation, guides, and tutorials. Websites like BBC Learning English and VOA Learning English offer fantastic free resources specifically designed to help learners with pronunciation. They often break down individual sounds, demonstrate how to form them with your mouth, tongue, and lips, and provide examples of words and sentences where these sounds are used. Take the time to really listen to these native speakers and try to mimic their sounds as closely as possible. Don't be afraid to feel a little silly at first as you contort your mouth in new ways. That's all part of the process. Pay attention to the subtle differences between sounds that might sound similar in your native language, but are distinct in English. For example, the difference between the th sounds in think and this, or the short and long vowel sounds like in ship and sheep. Another incredibly helpful technique is to break down words into their individual sounds or phonemes. English uses a phonetic alphabet, and understanding these symbols can be a game changer for your pronunciation. Many online dictionaries will provide the phonetic transcription of words, allowing you to see exactly how each sound in the word is pronounced. Recording yourself speaking is also a powerful tool for self-assessment. It might feel a little awkward at first, but listening back to your own pronunciation can highlight areas where you need to improve. Compare your pronunciation to that of a native speaker and identify the specific sounds you're struggling with. Don't neglect the importance of stress and intonation. English is a stressed, timed language, meaning that some syllables in a word and some words in a sentence are emphasized more than others. This stress pattern significantly affects the rhythm and flow of the language. Pay attention to how native speakers stress different syllables and words when they speak. Intonation. The rise and fall of your voice also conveys meaning and emotion. Listening carefully to how native speakers use intonation will help you sound more natural and be better understood. Utilize pronunciation apps that offer interactive exercises and feedback on your speech. These apps can be a fun and engaging way to practice specific sounds and improve your overall pronunciation accuracy. Remember, focusing on pronunciation from the beginning isn't about trying to sound perfectly like a native speaker overnight. It's about developing clear and understandable pronunciation that will facilitate effective communication and build your confidence. By investing this initial effort, you'll avoid developing bad habits that can be harder to correct later on. Mastering the basic sounds and rhythm of English is a crucial breakthrough that will significantly enhance your learning journey. All right, we've laid a strong foundation with vocabulary and pronunciation. Now let's move on to our third breakthrough tip, the backbone of constructing meaningful sentences. Tip 3, Basic Grammar, the key to building sentences. Grammar can sometimes feel like the most daunting aspect of learning a new language. It's often associated with complex rules and endless exceptions. However, for beginners, the key is to focus on the fundamental grammatical structures that underpin most everyday English communication. Think of it as learning the basic blueprints for building sentences. Instead of trying to absorb every single grammar rule at once, concentrate on the core building blocks. This includes understanding the different parts of speech: nouns, words for people, places, things, and ideas; verbs, words that describe actions or states of being; adjectives, words that describe nouns; adverbs, words that describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs; pronouns, words that replace nouns; and prepositions, words that show the relationship between nouns or pronouns and other words in a sentence. Once you have a basic grasp of these parts of speech, focus on understanding sentence structure. Most simple English sentences follow a subject-verb-object SVO pattern. For example, I subject eat verb and apple object. Understanding this basic structure will allow you to start forming your own simple yet correct sentences. Next, dive into the basic verb tenses. For beginners, mastering the present simple, past simple, and future simple tenses is crucial. These tenses allow you to talk about habits, routines, past events, and future plans, all essential for basic communication. Focus on understanding how these tenses are formed, the different verb conjugations, or the use of auxiliary verbs like did and will, and when they are used. Don't get bogged down in the intricacies of every single verb tense right away. Start with these 3 foundational tenses and gradually expand your knowledge as you progress. The same principle applies to other grammatical concepts. Begin with the basics of plural nouns, articles, a, an, the, possessive adjectives, my, your, his, etc., and basic question formation using WH, words like what, where, when, why, how. The key to effectively learning basic grammar is to see it in context. Instead of just memorizing rules in isolation, study grammar through examples. Look at how native speakers construct sentences in the dialogues you listen to or the texts you read. Pay attention to the patterns and how the different parts of speech work together. Utilize simple grammar exercises to practice applying the rules you've learned. There are countless online resources and workbooks that offer beginner-friendly grammar exercises. Start with fill-in-the-blank exercises, sentence completion tasks, and simple sentence construction activities. Remember, the goal at this stage isn't to become a grammar expert. It's to acquire a working understanding of the fundamental grammatical structures that will enable you to build clear and understandable sentences. Think of basic grammar as the framework that holds your vocabulary together, allowing you to express your thoughts and ideas in a coherent way. By focusing on these core concepts and practicing them consistently, you'll achieve a significant breakthrough in your ability to communicate in English. We've built our foundation, mastered some sounds, and started constructing sentences. Now let's move on to our fourth breakthrough tip, a seemingly passive activity that has a profound impact on your language learning. Tip 4. Passive listening to get familiar with sounds. Nge thu jong might sound a bit counterintuitive. How can you learn by not actively trying to understand? Well, think of it like immersing yourself in a new environment. Even if you don't understand everything that's being said around you, your ears and your brain are still working, getting accustomed to the sounds, the rhythm, and the intonation of the language. Creating an English-speaking environment around you, even if you're not actively focusing on it, can have a significant subconscious effect. This could involve listening to English music while you're doing chores, having an English news channel playing in the background, even if you only catch a few words here and there, or listening to English podcasts or audiobooks during your commute or while you're exercising. The key here is exposure. The more your ears are exposed to the natural flow of English, the more your brain will start to recognize patterns, distinguish different sounds, and get a feel for the overall rhythm of the language. It's like a gradual process of familiarization. Don't get discouraged if you don't understand much, or even anything at the beginning. The goal of passive listening at this stage isn't comprehension, it's acclimatization. You're training your ear to the sounds of English, helping it to differentiate sounds that might be similar in your native language. You're also starting to absorb the natural intonation patterns, the rise and fall of the speaker's voice that conveys meaning and emotion. Think of it like a baby learning their first language. They don't understand the meaning of every word they hear, but they are constantly listening, absorbing the sounds and patterns of their native tongue. Over time, this passive exposure lays the groundwork for understanding. When choosing what to listen to for passive listening, don't worry too much about the content being specifically for learners. While beginner-level materials are great for active listening, which we'll discuss later for passive listening, the goal is simply immersion. However, you might find it less frustrating to start with materials that have a slower pace or clearer pronunciation, such as some news podcasts or documentaries. As you become more accustomed to the sounds, you might find yourself subconsciously picking up familiar words or phrases. This is a sign that your passive listening is starting to pay off. Even if you only understand a few words here and there, it's still valuable exposure. It's important to not get discouraged if you feel like you're not making progress immediately with passive listening. It's a long-term strategy that works gradually over time. Be patient and consistent with it. Even just 15-20 minutes of passive listening a day can make a difference in the long run. Think of passive listening as preparing the soil for the seeds of active learning. It's creating a foundation of familiarity with the sounds and rhythm of English that will make active listening and speaking much easier down the line. So put on that English podcast, play that English music, and let your ears start getting comfortable with the beautiful sounds of the English language. It's a crucial breakthrough in your overall language learning journey. We've been listening, absorbing the sounds of English. Now it's time for a step that might feel a little nerve-wracking for some, but is absolutely essential for progress. Tip 5. Babble. Speaking, don't be afraid to make mistakes. This might be the most challenging breakthrough for many beginners as it involves stepping outside your comfort zone and actually producing the language. The fear of making mistakes, of sounding silly, or of not being understood is a very real and common hurdle. But I want to tell you right now, don't let that fear hold you back. Speaking, even if it's just a few simple words or phrases at first, is absolutely crucial for your progress. Think of learning to ride a bicycle. You can read all the books and watch all the videos about it, but you won't actually learn until you get on the bike and start pedaling, even if you wobble and fall a few times. Speaking English is the same. You need to start using the language actively to build confidence and fluency. Begin with simple everyday phrases. Start with greetings like, hello, good morning, how are you? Practice introducing yourself. My name is your name. Ask simple questions. What is this? Where is the object? Respond to basic questions with short answers. Yes, no, thank you. One of the best ways to start speaking is by talking to yourself. This might sound a little strange, but it's a fantastic way to practice, without the pressure of someone else listening and potentially judging you. You can describe what you're doing, what you're seeing, or what you're thinking in simple English sentences. For example, if you're making coffee, you can say, I'm making coffee, I am adding water, the water is hot. Another great way to speak babbly is to label objects around your house in English. When you see a table, say table. When you see a door, say door. This helps you associate the English words with the actual objects and reinforces your vocabulary through active use. Don't underestimate the power of mimicking native speakers. When you're listening to podcasts or watching videos, try to repeat simple phrases or sentences that you hear. Focus on trying to match their pronunciation and intonation as best as you can. If you have the opportunity, try to find language exchange partners or tutors who are patient and understanding with beginners. Online platforms can connect you with people who are also learning your native language and want to practice English. These exchanges provide a low-pressure environment to practice speaking and receive feedback. Remember, mistakes are inevitable and they are okay. In fact, they are a crucial part of the learning process. Every time you make a mistake and someone corrects you or you realize it yourself, you're learning and improving. Don't view mistakes as failures, but rather as opportunities for growth. The more you speak, even if it's just in short, simple sentences, the more comfortable and confident you will become. Your mouth muscles will get used to forming the new sounds, and your brain will start to make connections between words and phrases more automatically. This initial babbly speaking is a vital breakthrough that will pave the way for more fluent and confident communication in the future. So take a deep breath, find your voice, and start speaking, even if it's just to yourself. We're starting to speak, which is fantastic. Now let's complement that with our 6th breakthrough tip, a way to expand your vocabulary and understanding in a relaxed and enjoyable way. Tip 6. Read easy-to-understand materials. Reading in English, even at the very beginning, is a powerful way to reinforce your vocabulary. See grammar in action and improve your overall comprehension. However, the key here is to start with materials that are specifically designed for beginners or are inherently simple to understand. Think of it like learning to swim. You wouldn't jump into the deep end of the pool on your first day. You'd start in the shallow end, where you can comfortably stand and get used to the water. Similarly, with reading in English, you want to tot Viet cho toi meo con lai ji. Absolutely. We've covered the foundational steps of vocabulary pronunciation, basic grammar, passive listening, and getting comfortable with speaking. Now let's continue with the remaining 4 breakthrough tips that will further accelerate your English learning journey. Tip 7. Make learning English a daily habit. Consistency. My friends is the unsung hero of language learning. Just like exercising regularly or practicing a musical instrument, learning English thrives on consistent effort, even if it's in small doses. Trying to cram hours of study in one go and then neglecting it for days is far less effective than integrating short, manageable English learning activities into your daily routine. Think about those small pockets of time you have throughout the day. Maybe it's 15 minutes during your morning coffee, 20 minutes on your lunch break, or 30 minutes before you go to bed. Dedicate these small chunks of time specifically to English learning. It doesn't have to be intense study every time. It could be reviewing vocabulary flashcards, listening to a short podcast episode, reading a page of an easy English book, or even just practicing a few sentences you've learned. The key is to make it a habit, something you do almost automatically, like brushing your teeth. Choose a specific time or activity each day that you can consistently associate with English learning. For example, after I finish my breakfast, I will spend 15 minutes reviewing new vocabulary. By linking it to an existing habit, you're more likely to stick with it. Utilize technology to your advantage. Set reminders on your phone for your daily English learning time. Explore language learning apps that offer short, engaging lessons you can complete on the go. Many apps have word of the day features or quick grammar quizzes that can fit into those small pockets of time. Don't be afraid to multitask where appropriate. As we discussed with passive listening, you can integrate English into activities you're already doing. Listen to English podcasts while you're commuting, doing chores, or exercising. This way, you're maximizing your exposure to the language without having to dedicate extra time. Make it enjoyable. If you find your daily English practice becoming a chore, you're less likely to stick with it. Choose activities that you genuinely enjoy. If you love music, learn the lyrics to your favorite English songs. If you're a movie buff, watch short clips of English films with subtitles and then without. The more engaging your daily practice is, the more likely you are to look forward to it. Track your progress, even if it's just noting down the activities you completed each day. Seeing your consistency build over time can be a powerful motivator. It reinforces the habit and shows you how far you've come. Remember, building a daily habit of English learning isn't about achieving fluency overnight. It's about consistent exposure and gradual progress. Those small, regular efforts compound over time, leading to significant improvements in your understanding and ability to use English. Making English learning a daily habit is a crucial breakthrough in transforming it from a task into an integral part of your routine and ultimately your life. We're making English a daily part of our lives, which is fantastic for long-term progress. Now let's look at our eighth breakthrough tip, focusing on how you can actively engage with the language in more dynamic ways. Tip 8. Learn actively and creatively. While consistent practice is key, the way you practice also matters significantly. Simply going through the motions without actively engaging your brain can limit your progress. Active and creative learning involves finding ways to interact with the English language that go beyond passive consumption and rote memorization. Think about using visual aids to learn and remember vocabulary. Create mind maps or word webs to connect related words. Draw pictures or use online image searches to associate words with visual representations. This multisensory approach can make learning more engaging and memorable. Incorporate games and activities into your learning. There are countless English learning games available online, and as apps covering everything from vocabulary and grammar to listening comprehension. Make learning feel less like studying and more like fun. Don't be afraid to get creative with your practice. Try writing short stories, poems, or even simple journal entries in English. This allows you to actively use the vocabulary and grammar you've been learning in a more free-flowing and personalized way. Use music and songs to your advantage. Listen to English songs and try to follow along with the lyrics. Pay attention to new vocabulary and phrases. You can even try translating the lyrics to deepen your understanding. Engage with English language media actively. When you're watching a movie or TV show, don't just passively watch, pause occasionally to note down interesting vocabulary or phrases. Try to understand why the characters use those specific words in that context. Create your own learning materials. Instead of just relying on textbooks or apps, try creating your own flashcards, quizzes, or even simple dialogues. The act of creating these materials helps you actively process and understand the information. Find opportunities to use English in real-life scenarios, even if they are small. If you're ordering food at a restaurant that has English speakers, try using a few English phrases. If you're traveling, try to communicate in English whenever possible. These real-world interactions provide valuable practice and boost your confidence. Experiment with different learning styles. Some people learn best visually, others auditorily, and others kinesthetically, through movement and hands-on activities. Try different approaches to see what resonates best with you and makes learning more effective and enjoyable. The goal of active and creative learning is to make the learning process more engaging, memorable, and personally relevant. By actively interacting with the language in various ways, you're not just passively receiving information, you're actively processing it, making connections, and solidifying your understanding. This breakthrough in your learning approach will make your progress more dynamic and sustainable. We're learning actively and creatively, which keeps things interesting and effective. Now let's move on to our ninth breakthrough tip, emphasizing the power of connection and guidance. Tip 9. Find a learning community and mentors. Learning a language doesn't have to be a solitary journey. Connecting with other learners and seeking guidance from more experienced individuals can provide invaluable support, motivation, and direction. Finding a community and potentially a mentor can significantly enhance your learning experience and help you overcome challenges. Join English language learning groups or forums online or in your local area. These communities provide a space where you can interact with other learners, share your experiences, ask questions, and offer support. Knowing that you're not alone in your learning journey can be incredibly motivating. You can learn from the challenges and successes of others and feel a sense of camaraderie. Seek out language exchange partners. As mentioned earlier, connecting with native English speakers who are learning your native language can be a mutually beneficial way to practice speaking and receive feedback. These exchanges provide a real-world context for your learning and help you improve your conversational skills. Consider working with a tutor or language teacher. A qualified tutor can provide personalized guidance. Identify your specific weaknesses and tailor lessons to your individual needs and learning style. They can offer structured instruction, correct your mistakes, and provide valuable feedback to help you progress more effectively. While it might involve an investment, the personalized attention can be a significant breakthrough in your learning. Don't underestimate the power of learning from more advanced learners. Follow English language learning blogs, YouTube channels, and social media accounts created by individuals who have successfully navigated the beginner stages. Their tips, insights, and personal experiences can be incredibly inspiring and provide practical advice. Participate actively in your learning community. Don't just be a passive observer. Ask questions, share your progress, offer encouragement to others. The more you engage, the more you'll benefit from the collective knowledge and support of the group. Find a language buddy, someone who is at a similar level of English learning as you. You can motivate each other, practice together, and hold each other accountable for your learning goals. Having someone to share the journey with can make it more enjoyable and less daunting. Be open to receiving feedback. When you do interact with others, سواء كانوا متحدثين أصليين أو متعلمين آخرين, be receptive to their comments and corrections. View feedback as an opportunity to learn and improve rather than as criticism. Building a support network and seeking guidance isn't a sign of weakness. It's a smart and effective learning strategy. Connecting with others who share your goals and learning from those who have more experience can provide the encouragement, motivation, and direction you need to achieve a significant breakthrough in your English language journey. Finally, we've reached our 10th and perhaps most crucial breakthrough tip, one that underpins all the others and determines your long-term success. Tip 10. Be patient and set realistic goals. Learning a new language, especially one as widely used and nuanced as English, is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be times when you feel like you're making rapid progress, and there will be times when you feel like you've hit a plateau. Patience and the ability to set realistic goals are absolutely essential for staying motivated and persevering through the inevitable challenges. It's important to understand that fluency doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, consistent effort, and dedication. Don't compare your progress to others, especially those who may have been learning for a longer time or have different learning backgrounds. Focus on your own journey and celebrate your individual progress, no matter how small it may seem. Break down your larger goal of learning English into smaller, more manageable objectives. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent in English, set smaller goals like, I want to learn 10 new vocabulary words this week. I want to be able to introduce myself and ask basic questions by the end of the month. Or, I want to understand a short English news report by next month. Achieving these smaller goals will provide you with a sense of accomplishment and keep you motivated to continue learning. Be realistic about the time commitment involved. Understand that learning a language requires consistent effort. Don't expect to become fluent after just a few weeks of casual study. Set aside dedicated time for learning and be prepared to commit to the process over the long term. Don't get discouraged by setbacks or mistakes. As we discussed earlier, mistakes are a natural and necessary part of the learning process. There will be times when you feel frustrated or like you're not improving. It's important to acknowledge these feelings, but don't let them derail your progress. View setbacks as temporary obstacles and learn from your mistakes. Celebrate your successes no matter how small. Did you understand a new phrase in a podcast? Did you successfully have a short conversation in English? Did you complete a challenging grammar exercise? Acknowledge and celebrate these achievements. This positive reinforcement will help you stay motivated and build confidence. Be kind to yourself. Learning a new language is a challenging endeavor. There will be days when you don't feel like studying or when you feel like you're not making progress. It's okay to take a break when you need to, but make sure to get back on track. Focus on the progress you are making rather than the progress you aren't making. Keep a record of what you've learned and review it periodically to see how far you've come. This can be a powerful motivator when you're feeling discouraged. Learning English is a rewarding journey, but it requires patience and realistic expectations. By setting achievable goals, celebrating your progress, and persevering through challenges, you'll stay motivated and ultimately achieve that significant breakthrough in your English language abilities. And there you have it, everyone. Our 10 breakthrough tips for mastering the fundamentals of English. Remember, learning a new language is a journey, and these tips are your compass and your guide as you take those initial crucial steps. Implement them consistently, be patient with yourself, and most importantly, enjoy the process of discovery. Thank you so much for tuning in to Podcast English Story today. I truly hope these insights have been helpful and have inspired you on your English learning adventure. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes filled with more stories, tips, and encouragement. And please leave a comment below and let me know which of these tips resonates most with you, or share your own challenges and successes. We're all in this together. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I look forward to joining you again in the next episode, right here on Podcast English Story. Until then, happy learning.